Yeah.
So now that you've given us quite a bit of advice on resume and marketing yourself, now I'm actually feeling like the theme of this whole video and podcast is actually about how to market yourself and better sell your own skills into either your market or into your venture, right? Because Leo, he started with fashion and then did something related with fashion that took your own interests and skills into a next level of branding people and you know what I mean? Like I feel like once you have your skills and then you have an idea, right, and your interest, you can combine that into some type of venture. So I'm just curious if your venture is as well something that is related to your own interest and your own skills.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I can't go into too much details about what I'm actually working on because it is a bit confidential right now. But I'll tell you, the startup I'm working on is in the food and beverage industry, and it will be primarily mobile app and web application. So like website plus mobile app. And I think definitely some of the influential factors was number one, definitely going to Waterloo just because so many founders are from Waterloo. This is definitely a very much of a kind of like the Stanford of the North in terms of like where startups are born. I think one of the, not really faults, but one of the things I'd like to see more at Waterloo is a bit more push of the entrepreneurial aspect because we have so much untapped talent in Waterloo that's just going to these big companies when we could really harvest it, which is what I think one thing that Stanford does like really, really well.
Right.
You know?
Right. And how did you decide to start working? What was that final push that you're like, fuck it, I'm going to start doing my own thing?
Yeah, so like, I think for me, it's just like, why would I not do this right now? Like, first of all, I'm surrounded by some of the smartest people in Canada, just by fact. Some of the smartest people in terms of who in the future, like, I'm sure a lot of these people I'm going to see on my LinkedIn 10 years down the line. I'm going to see CEO, I'm going to see founder, I'm going to see co-founder. So it's just a matter of time. So I want to get in it as early as I can. And while I'm young, learn from the people around me, you know? And I think it's going to be an iterative process. Like I've no expectations of this startup turning into a full-time job anytime soon. Of course, that's the ideal thing. But for me, it's keep like, if one idea doesn't go too well, maybe I can work on the same idea again or start something new. Keep going while I'm doing my full-time work. And eventually things will line up, you know?
I see. And some statistics suggest that having a co-founder is one of the most important factors of a successful venture. Do you have a founder, a co-founder that works with you?
One of my co-founders, he is a U of T Rotman undergrad, same age as us. So childhood friends, so definitely the level of trust is there. We're on the same page. And I think we can communicate very effectively and clearly and be brutally honest, which I think is really important.
It's important, yeah.
Founder, because like you can't ever sugarcoat anything. You can't ever like when you're talking about work. Of course, you guys have a friendly relationship, but you have to really get rid of any personal biases. And even if you have like you had the most great day with your co-founder as friends, and then you come home and you see, oh, he really did some really terrible work. Doesn't matter how good that day is, you gotta sit down and be like, hey man, like just be completely brutally honest, which I think we can both be really honest with each other, which I think is a really key thing. And we're on the same page in terms of what we see this company growing into. And I think even some of the early ideas we've contributed to each other, the vision is on the same line. So I think I'm definitely happy with my co-founder and also looking forward to having more people.
And well, at the end you said, well, Rodman, so it's a school of commerce, right? Yes. So well, that's a very good exactly. A very balanced team already. You know, we got the technical side of things, and then we have this guy with the whole commerce knowledge and industry knowledge.
And he also worked at a startup, interned at a startup beforehand. So
there you go.
It's also a great alignment.
And I was gonna ask you as well about what are some of the early goals that you're trying to achieve with this startup?
So I think based on some of the things I've read from a lot of successful Y Combinator founders is don't get too attached to anything related to your idea early on. You have to set the ego aside and be fine with change. Like you have to be very logical early on. Don't be biased towards, oh, I've thought of this idea for so long, like it has to work this way. You need to really have an open mind and get your initial plan down as simple. So like I think simplicity is the main thing, and also cohesiveness. There shouldn't be any loose ends, and every single thing that goes on this final planning sheet, right? Like this final blueprint or outline, every single part should be with complete reason. Like, oh, I did this kind of market research. This is the current trend. That's why I believe this specific feature will work in this specific way. There shouldn't be anything where it's left up to assumption, because assumption is the killer. Assumption is what brings the risk, and also you're pretty much just gambling, like you want to be sure as you can be. And also you want things to be as simple as they can be in the early stages, because the second you start bringing in, start overcomplicating your business plan at an early stage, that's when it's like, yes, it's the formula for downfall.
You're going to be ready to pivot at any time, but at the same time, maintain your mission for the company. And something that I heard very recently from one of my advisors, he suggested that as a venture, when you're the founder, you're your own cheerleader. Yeah. You need to be that positive person, that person that believes in the whole company. But at the same time, you gotta be extremely objective about everything you do, because you're trying to mitigate as much risk and cover all bases at once, right?
It's definitely a really tough thing to do, because bias plays a huge role.
Huge.
And that's where the co-founder comes in.
Exactly. That's when it could be helpful.
Instead of, sometimes it's hard. You're doing everything yourself, staying objective, and at the end of the day, like sometimes your mental space might be a little bit gloomy, but you always has that cheerleader.
Yeah, exactly. You can play both hands, that one will be a positive and then the other person will be the analytic in every situation. Like it doesn't have to be one.
Just maybe sometimes you gotta switch.
And
although wondering, Sanji's a cheerleader in this situation. That sounds likely, yeah.
And so you mentioned YC. So Y Combinator, why is that something that you're looking into? Either getting advice from people from there, are you trying to get into Y Combinator eventually?
Yeah, for sure. I think Y Combinator is definitely the ideal goal. I think for those who don't know what Y Combinator is, it's a venture capitalist fund. Pretty much they're the biggest in the world in terms of really harnessing and developing these great companies. So companies like DoorDash, Airbnb, Instacart are all seeded from Y Combinator. So I think number one is the alumni connection. Like the second year in Y Combinator, everyone who's also been part of Y Combinator knows through the hustle and grind and the process you've been through. So they're like the connections that you get, the networking events that you get, are no amount of money is as valuable as these things, because you are literally meeting with some of the most successful co-founders, founders, and employees of these companies that everyone uses. Like these companies are very different from other companies. Like, of course, there's a lot of Sequoia Capital is another big one. But the thing with Y Combinator, I realized is it's really pushing the branding aspect, the functionality. Like when we use these when we use these applications that everyone knows, like Uber Eats and DoorDash, it's no longer just I'm using the Uber Eats application. It's a brand image associated with this functionality, associated with how you will pay. It's all directly linked in your mind, which is what I want to do with my company. I think one of my things one of my strengths that I want to focus on is my understanding of how someone will use my product and the full understanding of the process they will go through, and linking that with the brand. I really want to emphasize the brand, where it's no longer just the functionality and the brand is separate. The second someone hears about my application or my app, they should already associate it with the end goal, which is that they're going to be spending money on something. Yeah.
Well,
You know?
I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's about instilling a sense of consumer trust in the brand that you're trying to make. And when we do stuff like this, it's crucial to remember that, you know, like Uber and everything, much like when you're trying to hand in a resume, it's about at the end of the day, sometimes we associate term A with term B because of the value that term B brings to term A. And in your case, and in many other people's case, it's about the service that you brings, but however, it's about setting up the stage for you to eventually convey that, yes, other people can bring the same service, but however, the service that my business brings will stand here.
It's like
a standard.
Just a couple quick examples. Like back in the day when Uber didn't exist and people would taxi, right? Like there's a lot of hesitancy with taxis. Oh, what area am I in? What specific taxi company is going to come here? Like, can I trust the person in this taxi? Uber, now it's completely different. Now, when you think of an Uber, what do you think of? You think of the second I order the Uber, I know the face of the person that's coming. Yeah. I know their license plate. I can see their ratings. It is a completely different product than a taxi. They really addressed all the biggest issues, which was one of the things was safety, one of the things was convenience.
Reliability.
Reliability, exactly. And they put it in the brand of Uber. Now, when someone thinks of an Uber, they know I will be tracked the whole way. I will know who's picking me up. I will know their rating. I will know the price instantly. And I don't have to do anything. I just sit right here. And like same thing with another great example is Shazam. Even though there's 100 different apps that do the same thing as Shazam, like music recognition, no one goes, hey, let's open up a music recognition software to see what song is playing. Siri has one. Google has one. No, they say, hey, Shazam.
Yeah.
You know? It's that association with the brand and function that I think really makes these companies successful, and that's what I want to target. And that's what, like, linking it back to Y Combinator, I think they do a great job with choosing these founders that can instill that sense of functionality with their brand.
And it goes back to what you said about simplicity, about just focusing on a certain and it's not even features, it's values that you really want to touch base on, and then turning all your branding around that. And you know what I mean? Eventually people will recognize the amount of time and effort you've been putting in to those exact values, and will in that same way connect your brand with those aspects, right?
Yeah. You don't have to be the best in many different areas. You would just have to be the best in one specific area of a service.
Yeah, because like Uber doesn't worry about like, oh, are my drivers the quickest?
They don't.
Yeah. They're worried about, we're gonna have the most amount of available drivers, for example. You know what I mean? Which is some.
It's about faster.
You could wake up one day and decide I want to be an Uber driver, you know?
Yeah.
You could get on with your day. If you're a taxi driver, you have to get your license, certification.
Pay for the...
Go every day, get your taxi and go. You know, it's completely different.
Yeah, they definitely changed the whole aspect.
That's sort of convenience on our brain. Like, I want my product to be a lifestyle. Like, it shouldn't be a separate product. It should be part of a human's lifestyle.
Yeah. And, well, in all this process that you've... been going through with your own company, have you had any difficult aspects of it so far?
I think the main difficulty, I touched upon it before, but it's to, like, sometimes you can have a lot of great ideas. So like for this app, I have a lot of great features, which I think definitely would be successful. But at the same time, I think it's a lot about priority and sacrifice. I need to be able to really double down on, we need to focus on this first and get this out first before we even start thinking about these other things.
Right.
And really, I think the cutting it down, simplifying it, and like not losing focus on the original vision while retaining that vision. I think, so like I said, simplicity is key. You have to be able to orchestrate the different parts of your business together in the most correct way, like in a way that has, like, the research has really been done, you know, like we can double down in every single fact and every single process of this business. And I think the first step of cutting those extra loose ends down is one of the most challenging parts because it's really hard to be able to know what is a loose end and what is a required thing, you know, especially because of the bias I was talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of that bias comes in. You're like, oh, like it will be nice having this, but at the same time, this extra thing could cause some serious inefficiency, you know.
And then that's when you eventually will do some user testing or some of these, you know, ways for you to get some insights about what people really care about and what's just what you care about, right? And at the end of the day, like if you're not doing something that is extremely technical for, you know what I mean, you're most likely gonna know more than the regular user, right? So some features that you might think they're incredibly important, the user will be like, sure, like whatever, right? Yeah, and I wanted to ask the same question to Leo. I don't think I got any information about what's been your most what's been some of the most difficult things about going through with your venture.
Well, one of the most difficult things about, you know, branding people is first finding people. That's honestly one of the toughest things, is to know who will appreciate and need a service that you offer, and then who really at the end of the day couldn't give less of a fuck.
Right.
But it really just came down to, you know, I would say that it is a degree of luck finding the right person. I would even attribute it to around like 50% luck, 50% like skill, and then 50% like 25% skill, and 25% math. So yeah. Math is not mathing right now, but the other 25%, it's a lot of different factors. It's about things like actually reaching out to people, you know, taking that initiative, taking that leap, and then even technical skills. So the most challenging thing has definitely been reaching out and finding the right person, because it's very likely, it's very hard to be very easy
to be discouraged
by, you know, people saying no.
Right.
But we can't face rejection. I know, Santi, like with your business, right? You told me that you were knocking on doors initially.
Well, I did. Well, when I first started my storage company, we had the wrong pricing, so basically the wrong product, because of my own personal biases. So I think I knocked on more than 1,000 doors with not even feedback. Like people just throw it out. So
I mean, you can only knock on 1,000 doors at a certain age. You're not grown ass man.
You can't physically,
and they played overpriced. That's not saying. Learn these things now.
Yeah, but you know, it's some of those things that you cry about, but you know, it's just like take the feedback and like, hey man, it was my own mistake. You know,
experience. You learn from every rejection, like everything's in life, right? You learn from every rejection. You know, it's about taking what you learned and then figuring out how I can be better in the next knock.
Yeah,
and sometimes, you know, like at the end of the day, after that 1,000 knock, it really mattered is the couple ones that did say yes.
Right. And well, at the end of the day, what I'm hearing from you and also Sohom is that there's a big factor of luck, and but at the end of the day, you cannot just leave it to luck. You can always increase your chances and increase the probabilities for you to be in front of better customers, better targeted audience, right? So in that same way that Sohom increases his chances with like resume or you know what I mean, like with all these tips, and you with your own personal brand. Like I know that you are very careful with your details when presenting yourself to different customers that you're gonna talk about, or you know. So I do think that there's a huge aspect of things that are coming down to how you increase your own chances.
Oh yeah, everything. I think that every detail that you look at has to be tailored to the specific outcome. It's much like what Sohom says about writing resume. You have to think about, you know, include things that will incite the most optimal outcome and not have a very wide and broad approach to things. You can't you can't expect to hit a target by shooting a shotgun, for example.
Yep.
You can't be precise without, you know, looking through that crosshairs and figuring out what you really want to do with this.
You have to, like, I think, like, a lot of it is really to do with your mindset, because like let's say with your brand, or let's say you're applying to a job, if you're already saying, oh, I'm probably not going to get this, I'm really not confident in myself, how are you ever going to get the motivation to be like, okay, I really want this job, so maybe I should go network with some people and ask them about their experiences, or maybe I should do this or that. You're never going to get that motivation as long as your mindset is like that. But the thing is that I've seen the people get their ball rolling. I've seen people like get what they want after a long time. And one thing I notice is that it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter how behind you are. You have to take advantage of your environment, and you have to increase your chances of being lucky.
Yeah.
Like, luck is not just like 50-50. Like, you can do things that will increase your chances of, like, you know, you keep doing the right thing. You make sure you're on that journey, and all it takes is one day. All it takes is one moment in your career, or just meeting someone that changes everything. And these things don't happen just out of the blue. After you keep doing it, after you keep iterating through it, that's when, you know, you'll see success in, like, whatever, you know.
Right.
Oh, sometimes it might even happen out of the blue, but, you know,
but like, I
have to grasp it.
Yeah, I feel like the mindset is really like, I don't know, I guess this is going a bit more philosophical, but I think, like, you have to be obsessed with whatever goal or idea you have. And when you're really obsessed with it and you're really doing the right things, eventually down the line, you will see the stars aligning. You will know when the stars are aligning, and you will be able to grasp it then, when you know, I've been putting in the work all this time. Because the last thing you want is that you do get this chance and then you mess it up real bad, because you just never took it seriously, you know.
Right. So it's just about the consistency and the positive attitude towards whatever you're doing, and, well, at the end of the day, just pouring all that effort in that you want to build and create out of your own efforts, right? So I really think, well, very informative podcast so far. I think I learned a lot, especially I don't have any type of knowledge in branding my own. You know, I've been just butchering it with my, just improvising.
Let me be unbiased. You have, I think for your first company, especially, and like how you're running it and stuff, I think you did a great job.
Yeah.
I think you possess one of the most key qualities of a founder, is just the relentless and pursuitment, you know, like.
I appreciate that.
1,000 doors is crazy, you know, like like that fact right there just shows, you know.
Yeah, but hey, you gotta be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, thanks, Sohom Saha. You're for sure gonna be here more, you know, more often
on the podcast.
So we look forward to seeing you 10 years, 20 years down the line, you know, maybe 5 years, maybe even 2 years down the line, And, you know, don't forget about us, of course, you know, hit us up with the free food offers. I'm sure we're going to be asking.
And you'll be back as soon as you have the business running and public, so we can, well, get some of the insight of the challenges and also the things you've learned through that process.
Hopefully the next time we talk, my startup, it will be public at least, or like, you know, out the cloak of invisibility, and get more in depth into it. And
I'd love to hear that.
With that being said, we'd love to see you back here.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks
love to have you here.
All right, Santi, great interview. Episode number 2, baby.
Yes, sir.